My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. P.O.C. This is the entity stalking. It says Bethel Congregational at 536 North Euclid Avenue, and what you'll see from the library as I'm walking up Lemon Avenue, remember they're stalking and doing so pursuant to the street that I'm walking on. So walking what is east of Euclid. This is Euclid Avenue right here. So while I'm walking down Lemon over here and I'm documenting Ontario Fire stalking on Lemon and E, as in Edward, with light activity. I took a picture of that. Southwest Airlines is stalking, flying over the senior citizen complex, the library where I'm at, where I'm sleeping, where they were stalking last night, okay, with the military. And the entity is engaging in that as I wake up in the morning, and the entity is stalking, then flying, Southwest Airlines flying over Ontario luxury apartments. And you're looking at a stalking population. They don't even have anywhere to live, and they're stalking. That's because they're demons, all right? And they're engaging in what is the zombie agency, if you will, a whole bunch of dead people that are gang stalking in California, and that includes the military. This is stalking, and doing so, as I'm showing you this picture after of the entity engaging what is that ongoing stalking conduct while the demons are pacing on the roads and the highways. The people of the state. License plate 9XQJ765 is a co-conspirator of murder, and this is what celebrities and politicians are financing. This is the surveillance system in furtherance of murder, and they're flying over the fake church just like they are when I'm here. And by documentation, the fake sun from morning until evening, sunrise till sunset duration, where that is showing you the crime scene, and the crime scene is following also the criminals that are stalking, i.e. the military and the demon-possessed people of the state are following. Okay, that white truck is moving. This is crossing path conduct. This is the entity that is engaged in that conduct, and they're doing so while they're already proven to be terrorists. The federal government is aware of what I'm exposing. License plate 7ZKH296 is a stalker, and that's a lesbian. That woman is obsessed, and she's actually a demon. It's not a woman. It's not a human. And they're obsessed with my vagina. That's a demon as well. And they're obsessed with my vagina. They're stalking, flying, following, and flying west. There's no airport back in the housing community. You see all these houses? This is very plain, very clear. Judicially noticed fact. No airport down here, and they're not coming from the airport, flying what is diagonally northwest and then maintaining a straight line west over and doing the same thing even as I continue going north up into the city of Upland. But that's what Southwest Airlines is documented doing. That's what UPS is documented. That's what the entity that is gang stalking all the commercial airline companies. The airline industry is being federally prosecuted as being engaged in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder, okay? While the unintelligent use them and expose them. The gang stalking police departments using them and exposing them, just like the gang stalking sheriff's departments, the gang stalking courthouses, where they commit kidnappings, the U.S. government's pattern of conduct. And these are the ignoramuses, the homosexuals, all right, that are engaged in stalking in commercial planes. And everybody that's in this church, this is a failed business. They're going to prison. P.O.C. It is currently 6:20 a.m. This is the entity that's engaged in that while they're pacing, they're stalking. They're just surrounding me like sharks in the water. They're stalking, and they're doing so literally obsessing over me. Those bums last night are stalking me, and then they are getting hostile because I'm showing, look at these stalkers. That's how pathetic. They're psychotic. And not only are they stalking and they're supposed to make the target individual look like they're crazy, you're seeing how absurdly psychotic they are while they're stalking, and they're not even getting paid. They're not going to get it. They're not getting a check. No celebrity's going to write them a check. These celebrities don't even have money. They're going broke. Not only that, they cannot finance stalking me anymore. And they're going to prison. They're not getting any payment. These are demons that have lost their mind, and they're lost the ability to that mental instability that was always there. That's what's stalking, and it makes up the military. The demons that are going to be locked up in federal prison for being terrorist leaders. This is the P.O.C. This is an indication regarding the tracking of my steps, the monitoring of vagina, the ongoing stalking in a building by demons, the Nephilim who call themselves Christians, on the inside of a building, stalking just like every other venue, just like at the grocery store, just like while they're stalking on the roads and the highways, just like when they're stalking in the library. License 8VUD708 while the demons are stalking in a jet. That is the clear pattern of conduct. 8VUD708. This is the P.O.C. This is a neighborhood right here that serves the immigrant population, which is an indication regarding the immigrants that are gang stalking as well. They're all being deported. Okay, this is the P.O.C. You've got the immigration attorney, Iglesia Apostolica Profetica, Jeanette's Beauty Salon. This is the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're all back here stalking in their homes while the military is flying over their homes and doing so, stalking me and doing so, okay? This is the entity that is stalking on the roads and the highways. It does not get any clearer. This is the living dead who are engaging in stalking me, the person that is letting you know what we are subject to around the globe, not just in the United States, that's being put on the map for being a terrorist, terrorizing American citizens, which makes the United States government a domestic terrorist. This is the P.O.C. And you've got celebrities and politicians and company owners that are financing this, and they're being federally prosecuted as well. They're being exposed while doing so. This is not good for business, okay? License plate, while the government flies by. This is P.O.C. This is the demon. License plate, 4 Xavier Mary Charlie 670, and that's a suicidal. Stalker. They're suicidal. They expose themselves, they sacrifice themselves while they're engaged in it. That's the pattern of conduct. While exposing itself, sacrificing itself. That's mentally ill conduct. That suicidal tendency of gang stalking me and doing so in this blatant manner, this is what is flying planes into buildings, flying them into the ground, flying into bodies of water, and intentionally murdering other people. They are not plane accidents. They're not car accidents on the roads and the highways. This is why the state of California, is being put down. That's going to be locked down pursuant to martial law with regard to everything that has been revealed while the entity first sought to gang stalk me. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:23 a.m. That's the entity that is stalking. They're not walking your dog. That's the demon from Metro 102. He's a vagina monitor. And they're stalking me. The dog is a prop. And that's the psychopath laughing while he hears the truth about him. He's pathetic. He's stalking at 6 in the morning. They don't have a life. They don't have a purpose. They're stalking in a dumpster truck. They're stalking. It's pathetic. These are demons. This is the living dead. And the living dead are going to prison. They're being locked up in mental facilities. That's what's happening around the globe. Well, excuse me, around the country. In the U.S., they're being locked up in mental facilities and they're going to prison. This is P.O.C. and they are the U.S. military. P.O.C. It is currently 12:34 p.m., 12:35 p.m. now. It's Monday, June 29, 2026. This is to audibly address in this evidence. I want you to listen to it. I want to point it out and bring it to your attention, even though it is all published in the Google Drive, which includes, again, everything that's documented, every video, all images, any PDF documents like what I'm going to publish today regarding the terrorism that the Upland Public Library is engaging in, which is gang stalking by the city of Upland, which is the state of California, acting in concert with the U.S. military in the city of Upland. The entity is at 11:31 a.m. stalking me with the U.S. military. That is just like you see on video. The U.S. military went out of its way to engage in what is providing proof to you that I am never making up the events regarding being stalked by helicopters. And that's exactly what is on video. As I refer to it, the military who are severely mentally ill, which is speaking to the people of the state who are mentally ill, who are stalking. And they're stalking because they are monitoring. And monitoring is an inhumane and criminal act regarding that which is in furtherance of committing murder. And this is pursuant to, again, what is a child trafficking, kidnapping system, which is international. And I'm exposing it while I am in the United States, in the state of California, having been subject to this. The entity stealing my identity, stealing money and property, doing so with those that are of all levels regarding economic status. The entity is gang stalking me by homeless people. The entity is gang stalking me by developmentally challenged people. The entity is gang stalking me by those of all races at all economic brackets, if you will, in the ghetto in San Bernardino and in the suburbs in San Diego, by those that are in law enforcement and by those who have criminal records, by those that are in the law enforcement and those that are of the in the military, which are the ones that are stalking in the commercial planes as I'm going from city to city. These are planes that don't have any passengers on them, and the entity is engaged in just very sloppy, just obvious, ongoing, just rampant, gratuitous level of the provision of evidence, proof, confirmation in real time about what it is that I have alleged from the outset, that the entity is stalking and doing so with the hallmark in planes and helicopters. And so the entity that is engaging in this is doing so through politicians and through what are celebrities who are not exempt from being documented. When I'm in Los Angeles and I'm documenting the pattern of conduct, the gang stalker that is Los Angeles includes every resident. That includes the celebrities. And moreover, they are specifically documented, engaged in targeting me, defaming my character, stealing money, property, assets, even moving it across seas and bank accounts that I know nothing about. While the people of the state, the local brokies that are monitoring in real time around me, this is relevant to the entity that is accessing accounts, accessing my devices, mirroring my device, if you will. So that means under the fake sun and in the engineered environment where the entity, for example, is stalking by helicopter activity, and you have a gang stalker that's sitting next to me stalking me in the library. This is where the entity is also engaging in what is mirroring my device, and by that I mean accessing things that belong, that are under my name. Okay, and that which is under my name is, except for the criminal conduct, the entity is accessing money, assets, things that have been purchased, things that are generating income, things that have accrued interest that belong to me, purchased with money, assets that were stolen from me, and that is therefore my property. So where the entity is accessing bank accounts that are in my name, they do so through the gang stalkers that are stalking. That includes the military, the law enforcement agencies. They're stalking, and they do so. That's also relevant to the entity that is stalking so heavily. The reason why they are going from place to place, bathroom stall to bathroom stall, building to building, sidewalk to sidewalk, is because the entity is literally engaged in what is seeking to access my accounts, and doing so while they are mirroring my device, so it appears as though it's my IP number, my IP address, my device, where it's not going to trigger any sort of abnormal activity, if you will. And that's also based on what is an illusion, because Google, these websites, the internet, they're all monitoring, but they are engaging in what is stalking, being in close proximity with regard to what is appearing as though that it would be my device that is accessing my account, and doing so at what is, somewhere in the city of Ontario, which is where I'm located. This is how the people of the state are engaging in that. Okay, and it's not my device. It's not me. These are the demons that are engaging in federal stalking on the video, the internet, via communication devices, in concert with the government, that's doing backflips and hula hooping by helicopter, flying in circles over the building, monitoring my every move. That's also relevant with regard to the entity, and I've spoken to that before, but that's also another reason why the entity is stalking so heavily, besides the fact that they are absolutely psychotic. These are not humans. This is the Nephilim. Okay, so do your research regarding scripture and who the Nephilim are. I have referred to them accurately. These are the demon possessed. These are not actual humans. Okay, these are demons that are disguising themselves as humans, and they want to condition you. They want to affect you. They want to deceive you in order for you to behave and live like the beasts that they are, in order that you would be subject to the fate that they have already. They're going straight to hell. And they are possessing those that are whose vessels they are consuming. So you're looking at flesh and blood, but you're actually in the presence of demons. And that's what's gang stalking. And it is making up a corrupt government. And that's what's behind the psychotic stalking, like what I'm documenting, the entity literally chasing me in planes, chasing me in their vehicles, on the roads and the highways, chasing me with a fake sun. Any move that I make, engaging in stalking, making sure that you're blocking my path in the library, because that's what you'll see. This is the entity that is absolutely, absurdly psychotic with that level of obsession regarding stalking. And it is because they are demons that are monitoring. Okay, human beings don't have the ability to monitor. Monitor is relevant to what is knowledge about your every physical movement, your heartbeat, your breathing pattern, your blinking pattern, your digestion, your genitalia, when you are in their presence and when you are outside of their presence. That's not human behavior. Those are demons. Okay, and that's how you're able to see the invisible through the pattern of conduct, the evidence, the body of evidence that I provided. And with regard to your knowledge of the environment, this is how you are aware of not only what they know about you, but what they're doing pursuant to that knowledge and where they're doing it, which I've shown you in the specific environment. They are demons. And they are celebrities who are the Nephilim, engaging in monitoring people across the world, actually, and engaging in things such as copyright infringement, like they wrote that song, like it's about their life, like it's something that they have insight on, when they've been doing nothing other than monitoring a child of God, monitoring someone that is gifted, monitoring someone that's not entertaining demons in order to drop what are 8 bars in that rap record, which is not the work of any intellectual superior being. It's the work of a demon. And there is nothing that is artistic about that. It's actually highly demonic. It's disturbing. And these are the type of things that you're entertaining when you're listening to these demons that are freestyling because of the abilities that Satan gives them. And that ability comes from them sacrificing children, by the way, having sex with them, sexually perverted conduct such as monitoring genitalia, stalking someone, and siphoning energy while they're doing that. This is what celebrities who are gang stalking in California are engaging in. And it's relevant to a vagina monitor obsessively stalking me under a fake sun at the Upland Public Library, doing so by helicopter at 11:31 a.m. That's how what I'm documenting moment by moment, minute by minute, is getting to what is always, what you are never forgetful of, is the bigger picture. Okay, the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct, and they are doing so at the Upland Public Library. And the employees present include Sheena at 11:31 a.m., Alan, Adam Tuckerman, Ashley, Kiki. These are the employees that I'm documenting with regard to those who I am looking at, who are in relevant position. But every single last employee is going to prison. Okay, the entity's stalking by helicopter, and they're doing it while they're inside of the building, stalking me obsessively, and they're doing so under the fake sense. So that's a whole other layer regarding the mental illness, the criminal facilitation, the systematic facilitation that the Upland Public Library employees are engaging in, including while a bunch of demons, patrons come inside, gang stalking me. With you as an employee, you're going to prison for that. Okay, so this is the entity that's engaging, and I've also noted in the PDF for today, June 29, 2026, the serial stalkers who are also going to federal prison, and they are in attendance gang stalking, blocking my path, engaging in what is stalking in a building, which is psychotic behavior for which they will be subject to what are involuntary commitments. The entity is engaged in this for the purposes of the greater system that remains at play, where you have an entity, a public entity, a state. You have a system that is keeping me under surveillance and furtherance of murder. And these are the living dead that do so. Okay, they do so in the face of being documented, and they do so in the face of facing time in prison and that's you're not getting 6 months in prison. They're doing so in the face of being prosecuted and put in prison as a terrorist and as a mentally ill, violent sex offender who was subject to prison as a terrorist. And they're doing so in the face of that because they are creatures who are mentally ill, and these demons have blinded their awareness regarding what it is that they're actually doing, and they're doing it for no purpose. The demons that are monitoring, they're not going to receive their compensation. The financing that they've been promised regarding keeping me under surveillance and stalking me in planes and helicopters, they're not going to get it. Their families aren't going to get it. They are going to prison, though. And the reason why they're still doing so is because they are hostile. They are blinded with rage, which is also a criminal conduct, retaliatory in nature, while you are doing it in front of, literally, my evidence is that which is before the federal judges that are making determinations right now in real time. And they're going to prison for that. What is gang stalking me in Ontario is continuing and up in California. And the entity's doing so on the roads and the highways, doing so inside of the bathroom, doing so inside of the whole building, which is occurring throughout the entire city, while these employees are subject to federal prison. And so that's what's reflected on the PDF. This is exactly what I provided for Ovid Family Community Library, replete with literally the floor plan of the Ovid Family Community Library and the asininity that that entity engaged in, which is keeping a fake son over that library from beginning to the end of the day. And then you have the demons that are already surrounded with evidence, the employees of the Upland Public Library who are going to prison. Okay, but this is another PDF with regard to the P.O.C. and those that are engaging in that. And literally, you make a decision whether you're keeping your job, whether you're showing up to work. And of course they are, because these are demons. And these demons are prepared to sacrifice themselves. And that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to prison, they're going to be committed, and they will be impoverished where this criminal and civil prosecution is complete. And that is by design. It is 12:46 p.m. The entity is engaged in obsessive stalking and doing so while contributing to the delinquency of minors. Never mind the fact that these minors are demon possessed as well. They are still engaged in criminal activity as the government is recognizing it and is meting out justice pursuant to criminal acts by the government via children. And this is what the people of the state engage in with those that they are bringing into the pattern of conduct. They are built into the pattern of conduct because the entity is engaging in this as a lifestyle. All right, so this is the P.O.C. It is, again, June 29, 2026. It's 12:47 p.m., and I am subject to the pattern of conduct ceaselessly at the Upland Public Library, where the entity is keeping the fake son. Remember yesterday at Bethel Congregational Church, that's how I was able to get the fake son over me at 11 in the morning and then again at 4:56 in the evening. It's not over in a natural environment, over that church for that amount of time, nor is it going to be simultaneously at a different place in Upland, California. And that's where Adam Tuckerman's going to prison. Okay, that's the evidence putting him away, showing him to be a demon, showing him to be a malicious psychopath and a violent sex offender, acting in furtherance of my murder, which is terrorism in concert with the U.S. military. And for that, he is going to prison. This is P.O.C. It's 12:48 p.m. Everything you're listening to is occurring under the fake sun that's engaged in a grand departure from the sun that's over me in Ontario at the Ovid Family Community Library, where the military are stalking in planes and the entity is concentrating that light source over the side of the library. That's where the noise that you're listening to is the evidence of mental illness. It's occurring based on monitoring, that is stalking with noise, while demons are stalking in the path. And one's engaged in concentrated surveillance, stalking with light, doing so under the fake sun. This is the entity that's going to be committed. And they're engaged in what is together as an entity that's mentally ill. This is the behavior of the demons who are engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder while they are stalking and monitoring with the government. What you're listening to is ongoing harassment. The entity is amplifying it in volume, so while I'm listening to content on my headphones, it's piercing through. You're mindful of the psychopaths such as Ashley, who comes and asks me to keep my noise volume down while I document the fact that she and the rest of vagina monitors are engaged in psychological torture, where they are engaging in deranged, mentally ill behavior in furtherance of murder and kidnapping and criminal defamation. Don't forget that. The entity gang stalks you in order to falsely depict your character while they are literally keeping your genitalia under surveillance and doing things such as the subject you see on my right, stalking with flashing of light. That's impossible to occur. And stalking you while keeping their vision focused on something else. That's a demon that does that, though, and they are going to be subject to what are being subject to involuntary commitments while their mental illness is no longer closeted. Neither is their demon possession. This is Upland, the city of Upland, that's being prosecuted as a terrorist while the entity is maintaining the pattern of conduct inside of the city library as well. This is the P.O.C. This is all state action. Just want to make sure you're aware of it, and the images are captured under the fake sun. It's the 2 p.m. hour. It's specifically 2:32 p.m. All the employees are going to prison, and they're going to be subject to mental examinations. That is going to be protocol for prosecution as gang stalkers. You will see demons standing under the fake sun, stalking right in front of me. They're monitoring my device while you're listening to that ongoing audible activity. And the same subject that's been engaged in surveillance, stalking right next to me. This is psychopathic behavior. They are stalking in the path. You'll see the light illuminating the walls above their heads. The sun is remaining over Family Community Library, and you have a demon that's engaged in what is actually amplified audible activity. This is real-time demonic activity that is practiced by demons who are also appearing as human beings. They're engaging in demonic activity that's appearing under the guise of just normal conduct because you're not paying attention to amplified audible activity, like you're not paying attention to a fake sun. That's captured at 2:48 p.m. stalking in Plainview. The employees are going to prison for this pattern of conduct underway at their jobs. They are monitoring the device I'm using, publishing evidence on YouTube, and that's the entity that's engaged in that. This is how they are harassing and engaging in what is tormenting behaviors while they are monitoring you as hostile stalkers who are doing so on behalf of the entity, as hostile as the helicopter that arrives in the video while I describe what they are in fact doing, stalking. As you are publishing evidence on the entity, this is what the demons do pertaining to their behavior, which is accomplishing monitoring. It's all criminal. It's the military that doesn't have a right to be employed at the library, to keep you under surveillance, to be in the bathroom, monitoring your genitalia, stalking and doing so, to make any noise, be present to make any noise, regardless of the purpose of presence. It's all state action pursuant to a criminal surveillance system, which is how people on the other side of the world are engaging in surveillance right now. And the demons that engage in the pattern of conduct are going to be subject to federal prosecution. It is P.O.C. It's 2:49 p.m. Every single last thing you hear, except for my voice, is pursuant to what it is that I'm doing on the internet. Where they're standing, while they're sitting around, stretching, their every movement. These are demons, not people. They're all acting in sync, monitoring me. 3:02 p.m., you will see images of pacing. And the door slam that you just heard is pursuant to the use of my device capturing that psychopathic pacing. They're all the image of mental illness. They're in an entirely engineered environment, and their ongoing objective is to move and make noise pursuant to the one person that they're all stalking under the law on behalf of a government that's maintaining surveillance in things such as planes and helicopters and fire trucks, ambulances, police vehicles, all manner of very expensive and heavily resourceful means of surveillance, all manner of technology for somebody like myself who's merely living. All right, now they're keeping evidence that's being captured against them under surveillance, but the entity has no legitimate interest in what they're all in everything that's included in the gang stalking, and the people of the state that are demons engaging in this on behalf of that government. It's very psychopathic, very extreme. All right, it's a picture of mental illness. Okay, it's lit up like a Christmas tree inside. And they're holding conversations as though they're interested and concerned about that. They're using a stapler that's filling the entire library with the sound of that stapler. They're doing it to the rhythm of what I'm doing on a device physically. They have inexplicable light flashing on the inside, just like you already know is a fact. Stalking with light while you're driving your car. Okay. These are demons. And it is the picture, it is the image of mental illness. And then it's going to be subject to martial law. Okay, this is a mentally ill population with violent impulses to harm children, to harm those that would expose them for that, and to engage in the absurdly psychotic and expensive act of stalking with the government using helicopters and airplanes. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It's 3:04 p.m. And this podcast is coupled with images that are on the Google Drive. So that's why I'm giving you the time, especially when you're listening to noise. These are demons that are standing around. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh yes, that book was so fascinating. They're stalking me. They're getting as close to me as possible. And you can look behind the cackling demon and see the engineer light above their head, which is impossible light activity. You're looking at those that are sex offenders who are engaged in the crime of stalking, particularly their demons who are monitoring. All right, this is the P.O.C. It's currently 3:05 p.m. This is P.O.C. Stalking by helicopter. While crossing path inside of the library, he's going to prison. And he's a serial stalker, so he's going to prison. That's a psychopath. And I'll show you the fake sun where the entities engage in that. And this is after I get another laptop from the librarian under the fake sun. Remember, it's remaining over Arco yesterday at 434 North Euclid Avenue. It would not still all be over the same library either, where minors are over here engaging in terrorism with the military. And as this stalker gets up to cross paths with me as I'm walking back toward where I'm seated under the fake sun with gang stalking vagina monitors under the age of 18, the entity is stalking by helicopter. This is the P.O.C. He is going to prison. All the employees are going to prison as well. But I just want to be clear, these are a whole bunch of gang stalkers. This is P.O.C. This is terrorism. And they're all demons. They're all demons. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. That helicopter activities is the entity's second iteration of terrorism by helicopter today. Ashley is the one that's sitting over there in the reference desk area, and the fake sun's moving in real time as I move. This is it right here. And this is the location of the fake sun in the morning when I'm walking in, coming down the staircase at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is an entity that's engaging in what is surveillance. That's why they're sitting in the library, just engaging in surveillance with the military that just flew over by helicopter. That's the P.O.C. These are demons. Alrighty? They are engaging in surveillance in the bathroom, vagina monitoring, stalking. Okay, that's psychological torture while the entity surrounds you in a building and stalks you with a helicopter as you're hearing it. That's the entity that's engaged in that. And the government's engaged in stalking you through minor children and immigrants. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is. Alrighty, the minors are mentally ill. They suffer from the same psychopathic disorders. They're engaging in criminal activity with those over the age of majority. And Adam Tuckerman's going to federal prison for this ongoing pattern of conduct. Okay, currently right now with Ashley, Kiki is here today documenting Laura, the entity that's engaged in what is ongoing harassment while I'm creating the playlist, and minors are engaged in federal stalking. That's the impossible light on the ceiling right there at the Fake Sons over Arco in Ontario. This is conspicuous surveillance, and these are underage minors that are exhibiting mental illness. They're pacing. All right, this is the government that's engaged in that, and the Adam Tuckerman's going to federal prison for engaging in sexual violence, psychological torture, and what is gang stalking, which is domestic terrorism, in concert with minors as well, and furtherance of murder. Okay, he is as mentally ill as the pattern of conduct. It's not different from the demon that's flying in circles over and over by helicopter. It's not different from the demons that are stalking me at 12 o'clock in the morning. It's not different from the demons that just want to sit by me and be in my space. That's what this is. Okay, it doesn't have an age, it doesn't have a race, it doesn't have a language, and this is that same psychopathic disorder, maintaining presence in the path regardless of the fact that they're being documented. They're not focused on a conversation. The entity just engaged in that by helicopter. This is P.O.C. And this is a serious, he is indeed going to prison. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. Alrighty, it is 4:43 p.m. Alrighty, I just want to be clear. It is the entity stalking by helicopter is engaged. It's 4:44 p.m. right now. I just want to give a reminder. This is an entity that engages in terrorism because it is fearful of the evidence that I'm publishing in real time. So literally, the non-solution that the mentally ill murderers, kidnappers, sex offenders, terrorists engage in is more acts of terrorism because of fear of the terrorism that has already been committed is being published, which is creating more evidence to publish on the internet. That's literally the mindset of psychopaths that are serial killers, serial stalkers, and violent sex offenders. Okay, that's the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. And you need to understand, with regard to the mental illness, it is not based on identity. The Nephilim that are celebrities that you celebrate, that you listen to their music, you watch their movies, you go and watch them on Broadway, you are subscribing to them on the internet, they are equally the Nephilim. They are demons and equally mentally ill. This deranged and asinine and psychopathic pattern of conduct, which is sexually violent, is shared by those demons. It is not different. Satan is equally possessing all of them. And I'm just documenting the ones that are around me inside of a dusty library where they're all fearful and desperate, and providing what is a body of evidence to put all of them in the appropriate facilities and prosecute all of them under the law with regard to how you're going to prosecute a society of terrorists. Okay, this is California, and the entities engaging in this under the fake sun. This is juxtaposed with the ongoing evidence. Remember, at this time, I remained at ARCO because the entity was engaged in surveillance with regard to blocking the internet usage at the library, if you'll recall that evidence. And so while I remain at 434 North Euclid Avenue under the fake sun, a bunch of demons were stalking at those gas stations in between East Street and Lemon on in between Euclid and Lemon on East Street, where I remained. Chevron, 506 North Euclid Avenue, Arco, 434 North Euclid Avenue. On the opposite side is Starbucks, 507 North Euclid Avenue, and the Unicare Community Health Center. And the entity engaged in what is documented stalking by commercial planes flying repeatedly over that parking lot. And I reminded you that that's also where the fake sun is present at 6 in the morning, where I was there in the afternoon after 4 p.m. capturing video as well. The entity is engaging in what is stalking by helicopter, while this Caucasian male, who is a serial stalker, he's a violent sex offender, he engages in stalking me, where you see this demon with the scarf on her head, keeping his head down, just like the other serial stalker, stalking me and keeping his head down, while they are engaged in what is refusing to move from engaging in pattern of, in other words, a stalker that refuses to move out of their position. Okay, like being on home base and they refuse, or like third base and they refuse to move from that base. That's what the demons are doing when they're surrounding. They do that in the face of being documented, and that is, again, speaking to impunity and mental illness. The federal government is putting you in prison. So what is it that you are accomplishing Why are you motivated to stalk someone so profusely? These are not human beings. Moreover, they're under the fake sun. They're demons. They're stalking with impossible light. They're demons. They're engaging in stalking as a society. They are demons. And they engage in what are acts of hostility, as I document that, such as stalking with helicopter while you're inside of a library. And doing so because I am creating playlists, which you should take a good gander at, because these companies are being federally prosecuted while I am subject to terrorism because they were gang stalking me in the first place, such as speaker companies. And MIG Real Estate. I did create the playlist so you can see the gang stalking conduct that Upland Public Library is engaging in at Avanath Capital Management. That's Woodside Senior Apartments. Tracy Banks, who is engaging in what is theft of my identity, kidnapping as a child, criminal defamation with the Ontario Police, the U.S. military, while she is subject to federal prison for that. This is an entity, that's Avanath Capital Management. The entity is engaging in what is gang stalking through the apartment complex that I'm also creating a playlist for, organizing that evidence, which includes what is related companies, also what is Metro 102 is MIG Real Estate, Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, which is Saris Regis Group Residential. That's a property management company. These companies are being prosecuted. Those are the corporate entities, just like Southwest Airlines is a corporate entity. The entity is engaging in what is that pattern of conduct while I'm subject to the P.O.C. at these various residential properties. And you're looking at the entity that keeps the fake sun over that apartment complex, the entity that's stalking by planes and helicopters at these apartment complexes. I'm on the venue of the internet where Upland, the city of Upland, is engaging in surveillance, psychopathic and criminal in nature, incorporating those over and under the age of majority, those that are immigrants and those that are natural born citizens, and they're doing so with the intent to obstruct justice. These demons are highly hostile and aggressive, such as stalking by helicopter while you walk by me, and you're also walking by me stalking and doing so under a fake sun. That's why you're doing that, because it's activity creation, not coincidental just walking by. It is stalking while they are in your path. It's called relevant positioning, and those are demons that are doing that. The entity is engaging in this conduct in sync with the demons that are in the sky space, maintaining surveillance on the internet, where they are monitoring these playlists that are created. And this is relevant to a pattern of conduct that the Upland Public Library, its employees, are going to federal prison for. Okay, so this is the entity that's engaged in that, and this is relevant to the mental illness. You are hostile while you're a documented terrorist because you are in fact mentally ill. Okay, and while you sit there silent, that is not cloaking or concealing any hostility. This is an entity, and the entity that is stalking by helicopter while you silently walk by me is your engagement in what is threatening me with the intent to obstruct justice while I document you, the entity stalking me inside of that library. That's what this white boy just engaged in. He's going to prison. Okay, and he's going to prison just like what is Adam Tuckerman. This Caucasian male is not stalking by himself. Okay, there is a library full of gang stalking minors. You can see them in the video that I captured. This is why the employees are also going to prison for monitoring with minors. And the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct with the serial stalkers, who are also subject to federal prison. But this is relevant to the city of Upland that's being federally prosecuted as an entity. You're talking about every household. You're talking about martial law. You're talking about the damages that the people of the state are going to compensate an American citizen. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It is currently 4:51 p.m. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The entity is literally engaging in more acts of terrorism, which are going on the internet, which are going to be reviewed. They're being reviewed in real time by a real life military tribunal. What I'm doing is not sitting on hold waiting for some future. They're already prosecuted. And the demons that engage in stalking by helicopter on video last night, that has already been reviewed by the feds. I'm just going to let you know that. Not the feds that are stalking. Those are the feds that are going to be committed. I'm talking about the feds that are going to prosecute and execute justice. The entities engaging in criminal activity that is being captured and reviewed and witnessed in real time. And while I am documenting it, subject to it, the entity is also studying the mental illness of a population, what I have already testified to, the threat that they are to national security, the threat that they are to each other, which is a threat to national security as well. This is an entity that is indeed in need of what is martial law deportation, mass deportation in the state of California, and also what is the entity that will be impoverished, not getting any government assistance, local, state, or federal, with regard to what is not supporting domestic terrorists that are, number one, after a prosecution, not subject to prison, not subject to being committed in a mental institution, and not subject to deportation. They will not be receiving any government assistance. No terrorist will. Okay, but I just want to be clear on that. The entity is engaged in this because, again, it's always out of fear. The entity is very fearful. You are not a terrorist and you are not elite. You are not a gangster. All right? You are not courageous. When you are stalking one person in planes and helicopters, you are psychotic. And the entity has engaged in targeting me, and I am prosecuting cowards. And they engage in these same acts of terrorism while they are scared to death. They're petrified. And with that fear, I'm going to use the evidence that they continuously give to me because they are being prosecuted and they're going to prison. They're going to federal prison. So I just want to document that. The white female in the sky blue shirt, she's got glasses on with a blonde ponytail puff. She's a serial stalker monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. She's subject to prison. She's an adult engaging in the pattern of conduct with helicopter right now. I already captured her image. Basically, all the adults that I captured inside of the library are subject to prison. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. and I just wanted to make sure that context, because I'm not just prosecuting for the crime, you are also analyzing the criminal. And that is also going to speak to the ways in which they will be federally prosecuted and dealt with under the law when your mental illness is necessarily, it is automatically, naturally, impliedly a part of that controversy. Not only are you a stalker, but you are absurdly deranged as a stalker in need of some sort of medical attention, mental examinations, which is not that's not foreign, that's not unheard of regarding any person that is stalking, no, let alone a population that is stalking, such as the people of the state. Alrighty, this is the entity that is, this is the basis of martial law, and this is the basis of involuntary commitments for gang stalkers. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 4:54 p.m.